But first, it's a big week for the Coalition as it sets about making fundamental decisions about its future and the future of our country. Is it going to stay on the path of its current Labor-light policy agenda? Or is it going to make a bold and frankly overdue decision to take a stand on the biggest issue facing our country, and that's the catastrophic economic harm we are doing to ourselves under the guise of climate action? Futile climate action, I might add, given we are nowhere near close to meeting any of Australia's upcoming targets, and futile further still, given we only make up around 1% of global emissions. Now, it will all come to a head at Friday's special party room meeting, which will be make or break for the Liberal Party, for the broader coalition, and for Sussan Ley's leadership. Although some, like our respected political commentator Chris Ullman, well, they say she's gone already.
That she lacks all authority. So she's now being challenged by just about everybody inside her party. This only ends, I think, one way, and that is at some point before the next election that Sussan Ley is replaced.
Time will tell. But sitting on the fence and hiding behind reviews won't save her leadership. The Liberals must come to grips with this issue and they must make a decision to either fight or fold. And to date, under Malcolm Turnbull, under Scott Morrison and under Peter Dutton, folding has only hastened the erosion of their votes. So this is a do-or-die moment for the once proud party of Robert Menzies. Will they be Labor without the unions at the next election? Or will the Liberals rediscover their economic spine? Because this has been the fatal flaw in their policy deliberations to date. For too long, the Liberals have viewed climate policy as solely environmental policy when it is not. That's just a small component of what's at stake. Climate policy is all-encompassing. It hits the budget bottom line, it impacts our terms of trade, it's our economic strength, and of course, it is our national security. Labor gets a leave pass on anything to do with the environment, so that's how they play this issue. And when Liberals play on their turf, they lose. But position this as an economic issue, and the Liberals then play to their strength. And they can win. Tony Abbott proved this in 2013 with his landslide victory campaigning against a carbon tax. Already the battle lines have been drawn up. There's the energy realists, Andrew Hastie, Jacinta Price, Alex Antic, Henry Pike, Sarah Henderson, Tony Passon, Garth Hamilton and more, who all declared early on they want net zero gone in all its forms. They too have been joined recently by Melissa McIntosh and others. On the other side, the polar opposites of this, those supporting net zero, only promising, they say, to do it better than Labor, are people like Senator Andrew Bragg.
I think we could do net zero better than Labor in terms of emissions and cost and environmental protection.
Joining him too is Andrew McLaughlin, a new senator from South Australia. He's only just arrived in the Parliament. Well, he's gone even further today than Bragg, crossing the floor to support radical climate legislation from the Canberra Teal, David Pocock. And in doing so, gave this little sermon and what he thinks it means to be a Liberal.
There have been social commentary, possibly post my outing on the front page of The Australian, that it's illiberal to care for the environment and it's illiberal to support climate change initiatives, and it's not. It's very conservative. It's actually more conservative than a Liberal progressive position to care for the environment.
Don't you love it when those lefty Liberals want to tell us what a Conservative is or what a Conservative position should be? I'll tell you what a Conservative position is not, Andrew McLaughlin. It's not wasting billions of taxpayer dollars subsidising foreign-owned wind and solar farms at the same time as shutting down viable baseload energy in this country. It's not Conservative to send heavy manufacturing to the wall. It's not Conservative to blow up the economy. It's not Conservative to punish households with energy bills that are crippling them and hit small business as well. And in the middle of these two groupings are people like Julian Leeser and Simon Kennedy, rightly critical of Labor's energy train wreck, but scared that dumping net zero might upset too many of their climate-conscious constituents. Hence the latest Liberal temptation to replace Labor's legislated net zero target with a non-binding aspiration to get there anywhere. But the trouble with just aiming for net zero as opposed to it being binding is you can't avoid charting a course towards it anyway, even though the truth is net zero is simply unattainable. No less than former UK Labor PM Tony Blair has admitted as much. Even their current PM Keir Starmer, as the left-wing Guardian reports, is preparing to miss key emissions targets in an effort to keep energy bills down. But that pales in comparison to this huge concession today from none other than woke billionaire Bill Gates, who has published this long memo declaring that there are 3 tough truths about climate. Climate will not end civilisation, says Gates. Limiting temperature is not the best measure of progress, and health and prosperity, he says, are the strongest defences against climate destabilisation. Prosperity, says Bill Gates, is one of the strongest defences against climate change. Well, we'll only retain our prosperity if Australia continues to be a country that makes things, grows things, and digs things up. In the end, it's a question of leadership versus followship. Is effective political leadership working out what people want and then offering it to them to buy their vote? Or is it working out what the country needs, what Australia needs, and then persuading people to vote for it because it is right? Do you seek to lead the public or merely just represent them? There's no doubt that our most successful political leaders, John Howard and Bob Hawke, pursued economic reforms like workplace freedom, welfare obligations, tariff cuts, tax mix changes and privatisation, not because they were popular. They were not popular. They did it because they were right, and voters rewarded them. Likewise, whenever the Liberal Party's made energy and climate an economic issue, it's done well. Think about the elections in 2010, 13 and 2019, when the Coalition was campaigning against the carbon tax and Labor's impossible to meet and it's totally uncosted 45% emissions reduction by 2030. It's only when the Coalition Me Too Labor's net zero, as they did in 2022 and 2025, that it got flogged. This is the lesson that people like Andrew McLaughlin need to understand before he starts to lecture anyone else about political theory. They say in politics that timing is everything. Well, there's no harsher lesson this week on Labor's climate policy madness than the lesson of the Tomago aluminium smelter. The news of its imminent closure because it can't adequately replace cheap, reliable coal-fired power has got to be a powerful incentive for the Liberals to dump net zero. Because if they don't, they will sign their political death warrant and stand idly by as Labor sends us down the path of economic ruin.